Hi, welcome everyone to the episode of Reinvent the Box. Today we have Jacob Knutson. He's an entrepreneur from Butter. Let's start with how we got to know each other. We got to know each other through Butter. So tell us about Butter and how it became this idea of meeting smooth as butter.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm so happy that you've also been such a big Butter user. That makes me pretty honored that you brought me onto the podcast. Butter is overall a product that's focused on workshops, and it's actually two different products that we built over the time. The first is a video conferencing tool that is laser built for workshops. So it has everything that you'd imagine that you'd need for workshops, such as the ability to set an agenda, creating breakout rooms, integrating your favorite tools, such as Miro, and many other things. And the second product is what we call Butter Scenes, which is an interactive slides product. So a combination of a presentation tool, engagement tool like Mentimeter or Slido, and a whiteboarding tool like Miro. So those are the two different things we have for Butter. And we've been going for quite a few years now. We started during the beginning of the pandemic. So it was early 2020. And we were a small team that had built a startup together previously, fully remote. And we wanted to build something new, didn't know exactly what. And we'd been working together as a remote team for quite a while. So we knew a lot about remote work. And COVID suddenly struck. And a lot of people were quite confused or challenged in terms of how to work together as a remote team. So we thought, hey, let's help these people out while we try to discover a problem to work on. And that was when we started doing remote workshops, teaching remote work. And we felt those were super challenging to make interactive, to create a structure around. We were using Zoom together with Miro, Mentimeter, Kahoot, a lot of these different tools create interactivity, but it just didn't really stick. We thought, hey, let's create our own tool that was combining all of these different tools. And that was how Butter was born in mid 2020.
Yes, and I remember two things that you said, right? I think the best products and solution came because someone has that need and develops, right? So people that is willing to take the next step, I don't know how am I gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure it out. And that results in a very like compelling and very user friendly and solid products. How building a SaaS company, how was the journey from being a facilitator to building a tech company?
Yeah, that was a good question. So we were in the end, so we were three co-founders, myself and then Chris, who was designer and a product person, and Adam, who was a tech person. And in total, I think we were 10 people in the end. It was a little bit up and down. I think we were 20 people at the max, but being more people is not necessarily better when you're building a SaaS product. So it was a pretty big team, and we were a fully remote team, so we were spread across both Europe and Asia. And yeah, like going from building what can you say, being a facilitator, building more like services versus building SaaS, just very different. From building services to building a SaaS company was just very different. When you're building, like at the end of the day, building a SaaS company is much more scalable than building out services, but it also requires so many different capabilities. And I think that was why I was very happy to build it together with two people that actually knew how to build product, because I didn't in the beginning at the very least. I was very focused both on the actual facilitation side of things and on the growth side of things. I previously built an agency, which again both required a lot of facilitation skills, but also built up a lot of digital marketing and growth skills. So that was very helpful from that perspective. But again, extremely different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that me as a design thinker is you started with the user need, right? Which the ideal user was you and developed the product that was really like solving your needs. And then that attract people that were looking for something like butter. I don't know if people have tried butter, but the first time that the pandemic, I tried Zoom and then I came across butter. I was like, what is this magic? Like it's full with colors and emojis and we can interact. So this is the next question that I have for you. You came into a market that it was very corporate, serious, and you took a completely different approach. How do you decide to do that? And how was the first reaction about your product out in the market?
I think It was a little bit by accident. I think firstly, we were just like the team and my co-founders and I were pretty fun-loving people. So the name Butter came about by us joking around. Sharon, who was one of our early employees, she said that we were making meetings smooth as butter, and that was how we became Butter in the beginning. And then Chris, my co-founder, he started making a logo and everything, and designed a lot of the stuff in yellow, and just made it very delightful. And we launched it that way. And in the beginning, we got mixed reactions. We got both some that really loved the fact that we were fun loving and different, and we got some that really hated the fact that we weren't square and corporate. And we actually questioned for, I think, quite a while, maybe half a year, whether we should just make two versions or make it a little bit more accessible for very corporate users. Again, we were targeting facilitators and consultants, and there are a lot of very corporate users in that group. But at the end of the day, like, we'd much rather have a product that elicited strong feelings and that was really playful, and that we as founders could relate to and put our own soul into, as opposed to having a sterile product that kind of just met the middle of the road. And I think overall, they're just leaning to that and leaning into the fun and the delight and the silliness of the platform itself. That helped a lot in just generating visibility and creating a personality and a brand.
Yeah, I think you created a differentiator, right? If you would have created a similar tool, maybe your journey would have been very different. I think that's what it's all about. Reinventing the box is not being afraid of doing something different and unique to your voice. I think you guys were very true. I think that's a dilemma every entrepreneur gets. Should I just go with the standard to be successful, or should I own my own voice and my own ideas and
Yeah.
attract my own crowd? And I think you did the right choice, because after you build a community, it was not only a meeting, you were building with the community, prototyping and testing. So tell us about how was the idea of building the community? Was that also came, sometimes, what you said, it was out of accident or luck, but honestly, I think innovation happens when you know how to connect dots that are unrelated. So you guys didn't do an accident, you innovate by connecting different ideas. And so tell us more about the community, how it came, and what part it played in the growth of Butter.
Yeah, so it did come again. It's true, it wasn't by accident, but we weren't looking to create a community. Like, it actually came about by me posting a lot on LinkedIn about Butter and the product, and asking questions about facilitation, and a lot of facilitators connected with me on LinkedIn and started engaging in the threads and the posts and DMing me, and were just extremely helpful in giving their insights around facilitation. And that was actually where the community started out. That was not an explicit decision, hey, we want to build a community. And it wasn't like we created Slack channels or set up a circle space or whatever to create a community. It was something that emerged based on an actual, like, a group of customers that kind of came, and a group of users that came with very strong opinions and engaged with the product, because it was something that they felt needed to exist in the world. And I was super grateful for that, and that was why we ended up creating a space for them to continuing to engage in Slack, and later on in Circle, created events around it. Actually, I think we created the events even before we created the community, but the community started existing around these various events.
Yeah, and I think you are a clear example of how to find product market fit is listening to your market, right? And know how to convert those signals into solutions that will help you grow. So I think if people is wondering, like, how do I find my product market fit? Put your work out there, ask questions, engage, and know how to take that feedback further. So I was part of one of the people that did workshop with you guys, facilitated some, and I could say that of putting your work out there and asking questions and involving people build momentum, and the community, it didn't feel like another tool. It feels something like I was a community supporting people trying to do their best work they could virtually. So that's great. I think that's a great example people can find. And I think that's one of the steps of design thinking and human-centered innovation is like, so we start with the human and we end with the human needs and connecting. At the end of that screen, there is another human trying to achieve their own goals. So perfect. I like that story.
I also think one more note on the community side is we weren't trying to build a community around the product per se. It wasn't like a product centric community. It was a skill centric community that was focused very much around facilitation. We weren't focused only on bringing users for butter into the community. We were focused on getting people who enjoyed or knew facilitation as a skill or wanted to learn facilitation as a skill, had something to share around facilitation. Those were the people that we were trying to bring in. And I think that was really helpful in building momentum.
Yeah, and I think that's important of different marketing, right? Like you were not trying to market, you were trying to solve a need. And by solving that need, you eventually market your product. And I think sometimes people get it different. Oh, I have this roadmap. I have these 6 steps that I need. I need to launch a community. I need to market. I need to do my ads. But the best marketing you can do is understand your user, bring it into your story, and then co-create with them. So I think if anyone wants to look for a use case of human-centered marketing, go and talk to Butter because you did it great in those sense. One of the things that I want to ask you is like, how was it to build a SaaS company in terms of entrepreneurship, the resources, the network, the connections? It sounds like smooth as butter right now, but I'm sure that it took some effort. And so tell us about that journey.
Yeah, like it was different, right? You're right. Like again, I don't think you should set out to build a SaaS company or set out to build a product or whatever. You should set out to solve a need. And if a product is the best way to solve that need, then that's where things go. Now, again, I did set out with my co-founders to find a need and find a need where a product would be the best way because it's a scalable way. And fortunately, we found that. And I think honestly, building a company is not the interesting thing in the end. It's building that product. And I think that was what was absolutely incredible throughout this journey was like coming with different ideas, doing interviews, talking with users, building product, getting it in the hands of customers, seeing how it was used, and then iterating again and coming with new ideas or directions. I think that was one of the most amazing things about building this. Building product and building software that can scale and getting it into the hands of users is one of the most amazing things that I'll ever do.
Yeah, and I think you are reframing, right? The old playbook. Do launch your product, you did it the opposite. And that's what this podcast is about, like giving people ideas of no, there is another way. In terms of building the company and stuff, was it like easy to, I know you had some technical people behind you, but in terms of growth, did you do bootstrap? Or if you can tell us about more about the journey of the
Yeah,
resources that you need.
we were venture funded. So again, finding funding, that's a sales job as well. And that was my job. So it was more about telling the story and creating the vision. But again, all of that was anchored in the user need. So that was what was the most powerful thing. What one then had to do was extrapolate that user need into, okay, how could this be even bigger? How could even more people have this particular need? And one of the big angles to that was the fact that everyone at the end of the day was a facilitator, and that all synchronous sessions, all meetings in many ways should be collaborative sessions such as workshops. So that was the big picture. So that was one of the pieces, was raising funding, and again anchoring it into your user need and showing real progress towards solving that user need was for us at least the most essential thing there. In terms of building a company, honestly, like I wanted to do it as little as possible. Again, back to the whole like, oh, we were big at one point, but then we reduced our size and we actually moved faster. The less company building and the less time you have to spend on thinking about the fact that you have to build processes and hire people and all of that, the better. So having that small team of elite people that we found from around the world, that was an absolutely amazing unlock in terms of building the best product we could and thereby solving user needs.
Yeah, and I think you did something very smart. You don't only got people from one area with one view of the world, you got people really distributed across the world. And I think that helped you tailor your product to the different use cases, user needs, but also like the events were happening all around different time
Yes.
zones. So that's great. One of the questions that I have in terms of pitching your idea, what would be like your takeaways or the recommendations that you would give someone when they're trying to show their product? How are they solving with investors?
I think a lot of things. At the end of the day, it depends very much on what stage you're at, but at the earliest of stages, just show that you understand a user needs super, super deeply. I think that's the most important thing. The second most important thing is being able to show that you can actually execute towards that user need. And by executing at that stage is most often building product. If you've been like working 2 3 years and haven't shipped any product at all, or it's been super slow, that's a really bad indication. Whereas if you saw this need 3 months ago and already have a prototype out and already have solid users, that's a great indication. So I think again, looking for evidence that you understand the user need deeply, and secondly, showcasing that you're able to execute on that user need would probably be the two most important things to showcase.
Yeah, and you're preaching to me because I also this is my bread and butter. If you want to start something, you need to start with your user. If anyone it was in question about that, look at Butter and how they did. And also something that's very important, I think, with starting anything, and even in big corporations, being agile and being not afraid to
Yes.
prototype and
Yes.
test and
100%.
reiterate. Because if you
100%.
plan you said 3 years and then you launch it and then you wasted all this time, no feedback. I think this agile approach as an entrepreneur is essential. I'm building my own business and I'm taking that approach. That's great. I'm learning a lot from you. Butter got acquired by Miro, and it was like Miro is a whiteboard tool. If people don't know about it, very interactive, very user friendly. I use it a lot also for my workshops. How did that happen? It looked as from the outside, and I already told you this, it looked like the evident move of Miro acquiring Butter. But tell us about that journey. Tell us how it happened and where are you now?
Yeah, we've been in touch with Miro since the very early days of Butter. Miro integration into Butter was one of the most used features, and as you say, like it's something like workshops is one of the biggest use cases for Miro, and us being one of the big workshop tools in the market made this like a great match. And that was basically how it happened over time, right? With a lot of conversations over the years, and then in late 2024, so late last year, like those conversations came to fruition, and we found a structure that kind of allowed us to think, okay, within Miro, we could have a much larger impact than we could independently. So that was what drove us to make that move as well. And I think in terms of what we're doing now, like again, my main role is driving workshops within Miro. So that's building out all both products and types of products within Miro, and that of course includes Butter in that portfolio. That is how towards workshops. It's very exciting.
Is there a plan to integrate Butter with Miro in terms of one tool, or is it completely
Yeah.
separate?
So again, I can't say too much about future plans. Like that's one of the things about being in corporate. You're not allowed to say a lot of stuff, but we're working a lot of ways of making those thoughts around Butter and Miro work together better. Yeah.
As butter, smooth as butter.
Right.
Okay. If you could redesign the typical tech startup journey from idea to exit, what would you keep? What would you throw away? And what would you completely reimagine? I think you already did because you were facing big players like Zoom. But tell us, like people right now with AI into play, vibe coding, like people can create apps in seconds. That journey is changing. The speed is going fast, but also there is more noise and more apps out there without not customer discovery or product market fit. So tell us your perspective on that.
I think you're hitting the hammer on the nail there, because it's, yes, the iteration speeds are much higher, but it doesn't change the fact that you need customer insights to build stuff, right? You need something to anchor it in. So customer insights become more important than ever before, because execution is so much easier than it used to be. So when that's easier, like your unique, like your most defensible point is really truly understanding your customer. that means that getting those insights, but also getting those insights fast in terms of prototyping, getting something in the hands of customers, and then iterating again, that is more important than ever. I would expect someone doing a startup to go a maximum of 1 month, from setting something up, learning something, to having something in the customer's hands, and then iterating from there in extremely fast cycles. I think that's the one thing that I wouldn't necessarily say it's changed. Like, what's changed is the cycle speed, but it still needs to be anchored in the users. The second piece that is probably even more important now than ever is being lean for longer, keeping the team super small, optimizing output through the use of AI tools, of course, so internal tooling there, but just not growing big before you really need to. And a lot of tools today, like Cursor, Lovable, they showcase that you're going to have plus $100 million ARR teams that are 50 people and less. I think that's the second piece. So first piece is like the soul anchoring customers. Second one is make sure you do super fast iteration cycles. And third piece is keep your team lean for as long as humanly possible these days.
Yeah, one of the things I think some people say AI is going to change everything, it's automation, but actually people that really understand how to use AI will make the future more human centric, because now you have the tools to do things faster. So it's not about doing things faster and automating and getting cookie cutter solutions out there. It's really using AI as a tool to understand and build based on getting customer feedback. And getting customer feedback is not like sending out a survey. I don't think you
No,
did
no.
send out a survey. It's really a process and understanding how to translate those insights. So tell us a bit about your process of how, okay, we got the feedback. How are you, if you can share, translating into next steps?
Oh yeah, depends very much on what product you're building, right? But I think the most important thing is just understanding the underlying sentiment beneath the feedback. Again, it's not about asking whether the button should be on the right or the left hand side, right? It's about understanding, okay, what's the need that the customer have, or what's the frustration that the customer have? And I'd say only in 1 out of 10 or in reasonably mature products should you take customer feedback on face value or at face value. You should very rarely do what the customer actually asks for. You should understand the underlying issues that the customer asks for. So I guess that's a little bit of a, I don't know whether that really answers your question, but it's not about going back and then making the changes that a customer asks for in fast iteration. No, it's about iterating quickly, understanding the frustrations that the customers have, or whether the customers are actually truly getting value from your product, and then iterating based on that.
Yeah, and I think as a design thinker, I can totally relate to you, because that's the empathize process, right?
Yes.
Where you really like, people can tell you something, but their actions really, or where, so just looking at someone using your product gives you more insights than
Yes.
really, would you buy this or not? If someone make an investment of attending your workshop, that is a signal that you're bringing value. So understanding those key moments. And I'm a marketer as well. So this customer journey, where are they? How can I help them achieve more, be more, reach their goals? I think if we shift that in product marketing, and product market fit, we will get more cases like Butter and Lovable and all those tech startups that are doing great stuff for a lot of entrepreneurs. Okay, so now we are in the terms of the invisible dot, right? Like, we're here to reinvent the box. So what is one myth from Silicon Valley tech startup world that you want to demystify, or that you felt like, I believe that before building this, and now I'm here to tell you that?
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't know whether that's really a myth, but it was something that was debunked, and it's coming a little bit back now, but it was something that I believe was debunked during COVID. And that's the whole thing, that you cannot build startups remotely. Like, again, our entire startup was built fully remotely from a team of humans across the globe. And that was probably one of the most amazing journeys ever. I do think it faces unique challenges building a remote startup, and it's not like something that necessarily anyone should do. But I think it's definitely very possible, and it can become a big strength if you're able to do it.
Perfect. And it gives you different perspectives. Okay, different perspectives about how the world and how your product is used. So we're about the end of the podcast. I just have 3 more questions for you. And this section is called the invisible dot. Looking back at your journey, people think, oh, innovation happens, it's an aha moment, you need to think outside of the box. I actually believe that we need to get rid of the box and reinvent it and connect the dots in new ways. So is there a way where in your journey you said, oh, you're there. It's connecting. How did you connect the dots in that moment that you say, okay, it's not an aha moment, it was a process, but that pushed me forward?
Case in point, I think something that really changed my way of thinking was actually becoming a dad. And time is different. And one of my superpowers throughout life has just been working hard. I work super hard. I easily work very long weeks. And if there was a problem that I couldn't solve, I just throw more hours on it, right? And when you become a dad, that's just not, or when you become a parent, that's just not something you can do. The sacrifice is too big. I think I just learned the power of stepping away from things and like taking a long walk, reflecting on things and figuring out smarter, not necessarily smarter ways, because that's not just it, but just more reflective ways of solving problems instead of just brute forcing one's way through them, like letting them rest, letting them ruminate. I think that's something that massively changed the way that I operate, and to this very day influences me very heavily. It also makes me a better person, I think. But
Yeah, and I could totally relate with you. I think being a parent makes you more agile and really like your time is constrained. So where I put my best effort to make the most impact, not only for my product, for my customers. So if I admire everyone that is building a business with children. I appreciate you having the time with me as well to record this. And the last question that I have is if what would be your advice to the next entrepreneurs? We spoke about AI, what's coming, like how can we take these next 10 years and shape entrepreneurship differently?
I think we need to, and again, very much related to the title of this podcast and what the question you've been asking, I think we need to remember that products are still used by humans. And I think building delight into products, making them unique and creating personality and fun and joy whenever they interact with them is just so absolutely essential and important, and it's something that only becomes more and more important as the AI wave progresses. So that's something that I personally will do in the future. Keep very close to myself when building.
And I think you nailed it, because every time I use butter, I feel happy. And I'm gonna use butter for my next workshop for sure. And it's just not, oh, I have another meeting. I think you really make it in a way that I'm going to butter and I'm gonna have fun with people that I'm collaborating and co-creating. And that speaks so loud, like about you dare to step into your own voice and believe your own. And I agree, totally agree. We don't need more tech. We need more humanity. We need more joyful moments. So thank you so much for bringing that into the world, because without butter, we would have screens and backgrounds. I'm looking forward to see what's next in your journey, because I think it's just the start.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm very intrigued on LinkedIn, named Jacob Knutson. And yeah, feel free to contact me with me there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Reinvent the Box. If something sparked your curiosity today, follow it. That spark, it's where innovation begins, where bold ideas meet real-world impact. We don't think outside of the box. We reinvent it. With creativity, strategy, and human-centered innovation, you just don't launch ideas. You build what works. That's the heart of the Innovationist Playbox and the unboxing journey. Until next time, keep reinventing.